The movie begins with a lady named Marnie, who has been in prison for the past 2 years, thanks to her good behavior. The police decide to release her, but not without strings attached. She still had some punishment left, and now she had to spend the rest of it as a prisoner in her own home. I mean, talk about getting house arrest like it's some kind of vacation. A tracking device was placed on her ankle, which would alert the police if she moved more than 100 feet from her house. Yep, no more late-night snack runs for Marnie. If she tried to escape, the police would know immediately, thanks to the device. A police inspector named Shanks comes to drop her off at her house. He has the keys to the tracking device and makes sure to tell her, "We'll be watching you." Like, dude, thanks for the friendly reminder, as if the ankle bracelet wasn't enough of a hint. Marnie was in prison for killing her husband. The bloodstains were still there on the wall as a grim reminder. Fun fact, her husband was also a police officer, and, surprise, surprise, Inspector Shanks was actually his best friend. Small world, huh? So yeah, Shanks was not only a cop but also emotionally involved in the whole situation, making him even more bitter. But Marnie didn't kill her husband on purpose. It was an accident while she was defending herself. However, Shanks didn't believe her, because apparently everyone in this movie is a master at ignoring obvious red flags. After Shanks left, Marnie started cleaning her house. She went to the basement to store her husband's old clothes, but since the basement was farther than 100 feet away, she couldn't go there herself. Honestly, you'd think by now, someone would have invented a less annoying punishment system. She tossed the bag of clothes down the stairs, but it burst open, spreading the contents everywhere. Classic Marnie. Can't even throw a bag properly. After that, she scrubbed the bloodstains off the wall where her husband had died. She cleaned the house, washed her hands, and even wore new clothes. Finally, fresh clothes after 2 years. Guess prison laundry wasn't cutting it. Marnie lay on her bed, feeling strange after so long. One day, while sitting by the window, she started reflecting on her life. She realized that the past was gone forever, and society would never accept her now just because she had killed her husband. Okay, Marnie, let's be honest, you did kill a guy, and he wasn't just a random guy, but still, ouch, society, way to ghost her. Friends who once visited her now avoided her like she was a plague. They hated her, ignored her, and had completely erased her from their lives. That night, strange things began to happen. Candles in her house would light up and blow out on their own. Seriously, though, it's 2023. Who still uses candles? Marnie started feeling uneasy, like the house was urging her to leave. When she went to investigate, she found a man lurking outside. Apparently, this guy had been living in her basement for the past year. Like, how do you not notice a random basement roommate for an entire year? The guy saw Marnie and bolted out of there faster than she could blink. The next morning, when daylight returned, things seemed normal. Marnie spent the day peacefully. Since she couldn't leave the house to buy groceries, she ordered food and kitchen supplies over the phone. A delivery boy named Joy came by with the stuff and told her, "I'll be the one delivering your groceries from now on." Joy probably didn't know he signed up for the haunted house delivery service. One night, Marnie lit a cigarette. Out of nowhere, a terrifying face appeared right in front of her. It was her husband. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, even in death, this guy just couldn't give Marnie a break. She freaked out, falling off the bed, and ran toward the door, desperate to escape. But just as she reached for the handle, she remembered, "Oops, I can't leave the house or I'm going to jail for 10 more years. It's like the ultimate game of don't touch the floor, except the floor is freedom and you'll be arrested." Marnie was in a terrifying situation. Her husband's ghost was creeping towards her. In sheer panic, she tried to pull her leg, but honestly, how did she think that was going to stop a ghost? Overwhelmed by fear, she bolted and ended up falling into the basement, feigning like a dramatic soap opera star. After a while, Shanks, the ever-watchful cop, shows up. The tracking device on her leg had alerted him that something was wrong. When Marnie wakes up and sees him, she doesn't tell him anything. Probably because even she couldn't believe what just happened. Like, try explaining a ghost attack to a cop without sounding like you've lost your mind. Plus, she wasn't even sure what was real and what wasn't. As she looks around, she notices that the bloodstain on the wall, the one she had scrubbed clean, was back again. Yep, because ghosts apparently don't care about your cleaning efforts. Marnie was rattled and couldn't sleep that night. She spent the entire night trying to convince herself, "Come on, Marnie, don't be scared. There are no such things as ghosts." Nice try, Marnie, but deep down, she knew that wasn't true. The next morning, things started to get really weird. Paranormal activities kicked into high gear. Marnie could sense that she wasn't alone anymore, as if someone else was living in the house with her. She heard footsteps from upstairs, which, given the fact that no one else lived there, should have been her first clue to run for the hills. Then, when she went into the kitchen to make coffee, she saw the utensils on the shelf moving. Before she knew it, they all came crashing down towards her. Honestly, it was like the ghost was telling her, "No coffee for you today." Marnie barely saved herself from getting hit by flying dishes, but after that, she was convinced. Her husband's ghost was haunting the place. And it wasn't a friendly ghost like Casper. No! This one was out to make her life miserable. But Marnie wasn't going to back down. She stood her ground and told the ghost, "This is my house too." Because, you have to negotiate with ghosts these days. Days went by, and now her husband's ghost was bothering her even in broad daylight. Meanwhile, Shanks was sitting outside, keeping an eye on the house. Imagine sitting outside a haunted house, completely oblivious to the supernatural soap opera happening inside. Poor guy thought he was just babysitting a woman on house arrest. Little did he know, Marnie had one bright spot in her life. A friend named Joy, the guy who delivered her groceries. They became good friends, and one day she opened up to him about her husband. She explained that while her husband seemed like a good man in public behind closed doors, he was abusive. Ah yes, the classic, I'm a great guy in public, but at home, I'm a total nightmare routine. She had complained to the police multiple times, but no one believed her because her husband was careful not to leave any marks. Wow, what a great guy. He was evil and sneaky. One night, he had come at her with a knife, and in an act of self-defense, she had killed him. That's how he ended up dead. After hearing all of this, Joy believed her, even though no one else had. Looks like Joy was falling for Marnie, ghost problems and all. He reassured her, and from then on, their bond grew stronger. Now Marnie wanted to do something about the ghost situation, so she asked Joy to get her some books about spirits. After reading through them, she learned that to get rid of the ghost, she first had to remove all of her husband's belongings from the house. Yeah, because ghosts are apparently very attached to their old junk. Then, she would need to sprinkle holy water all over the place and, for some reason, tell the spirit to leave via phone call. Because ghosts respect a good voicemail, I guess. Marnie was ready to do whatever it took to free herself from her husband's ghost. But the problem was, she had thrown all of his stuff into the basement, farther than her 100-foot limit. She now had the challenge of going down to the basement and retrieving the belongings within 3 minutes before the tracking device on her leg went off. Because nothing says high-stakes mission like racing against both a ghost and a police ankle monitor. Marnie had a strange habit of dealing with her haunted house, like it was a weekend DIY project. One day, she went down to the basement, quickly grabbed a bunch of old stuff, and dragged it upstairs. Let's be honest, she's the type to think fighting ghosts is as simple as organizing a closet. Just as she was putting the stuff away, her late husband's ghost decided to be extra dramatic. He yanked her leg and threw her across the room. But Marnie, being stubborn as ever, got the job done anyway. That's Marnie for you, persistent, even when the afterlife is actively trying to bench her. Hearing the ruckus, Shank, her overly nosy neighbor, burst into the house. Seriously, this guy's hobby is stalking her like it's his full-time job. He noticed her bruises and the blood dripping from her nose and thought, wait a minute, maybe she didn't kill her husband after all. Looks like someone or something is out to get her too. Tell me the truth, Shank demanded dramatically. I'll help you, and I won't tell anyone. Marnie, seeing no better option, spilled the beans. It's my husband's ghost. He's haunting me, and I want to get rid of him. Shank, not missing a beat, replied, You've lost it, haven't you? Ghosts? Really? Marnie snapped back. I knew you wouldn't believe me. Typical. Deciding she was on her own, Marnie gathered her husband's belongings and tossed them all into the trash. But when she tried to throw her wedding ring into the gutter, her ghostly husband made his move. He grabbed her hand and tried to shove it into the sewer. Honestly, what a petty ghost. Dude's been dead for years, but he's still obsessed with making her life miserable. Marnie barely escaped, but then the mysterious bloodstain she'd been scrubbing for days reappeared, mocking her efforts. There's something else he left behind, she thought, searching the house like a maniac. Marnie, the human tornado, destroying her house while looking for, what exactly? A clue? A receipt for bad karma? In her frenzy, she banged her head on the ground, which loosened a tile. Beneath it, she found a bag stuffed with money. Oh, so this is what he was hiding, she exclaimed. After much deliberation, she decided to donate the money to the church. But when she called the priest to cleanse the house, he chickened out. Nope, can't help you. That's some next-level ghost power, he said. Really, Father? You had one job. Marnie, tired of waiting for backup, performed the rituals herself. She yelled at her husband's ghost, demanding he leave. But of course, he wasn't going anywhere without a fight. He grabbed her hair, slammed her head into the wall, and then used her blood to write a giant U on the wall. What do you want? She screamed. The ghost's message was clear. You, dead. He wanted revenge for his death. Marnie tried to escape, but the ghost locked all the doors and windows. Furniture flew around the room as if her house had signed up for a paranormal wrestling match. The ghost even tried to nail her to the floor, but stopped short of killing her outright. Let's be real, though. If this ghost spent as much energy haunting Marnie as he did haunting therapy, maybe he'd find some peace. The house was left in ruins, but Marnie, bruised, battered, and probably questioning all her life choices, stood tall. Somehow, she always found a way to survive, even when her late husband's ghost turned the afterlife into a full-blown horror movie. Marnie was alone and scared in her creepy house. Let's be honest, Marnie. If your life was a reality show, it'd be called My Haunted Disaster, and we'd all watch it, desperate for company. She calls her friend Joy to hang out. Joy, clearly not knowing the horror show he was signing up for, gets excited and rushes over. They spend the night together, and by morning, Marnie is in high spirits. But her happiness triggers her husband's vengeful ghost. Talk about being possessive. Dude couldn't even leave her alone from beyond the grave. The ghost grabs Joy, slams him against the wall, and beats him so badly that his nose and mouth bleed. It doesn't stop there. Joy's hands and legs are broken before he meets a gruesome end. All of this happens right in front of Marnie's eyes, but she can't stop it. Every time she tries, the ghost yeets her across the room like she's a rag doll. Great job picking friends. Joy, next time, maybe skip the haunted widow option. Oh wait, there won't be a next time. Now, with Joy's body in the room and the ghost looming, Marnie is terrified. She runs to the bathroom to clean herself up. That's when Shank, her nosy neighbor, shows up at the door. This guy's been watching her house like it's a Netflix series, probably wishing he could hit skip recap. Shank saw Joy arrive the previous night and demands that Marnie open the door. Panicked, Marnie hides Joy's body under the floor tiles. Yeah, Marnie, because hiding corpses has always worked out great in horror stories. When Shank enters, Marnie tries to distract him and get him to leave quickly. But bad luck strikes when Joy's body crashes through the ceiling onto Shank. Whoops. Gravity's got a dark sense of humor. Now convinced Marnie's a killer, Shank arrests her. Marnie, tired of her haunted life, doesn't even protest. She just wants to leave the house. As Shank drags her away, the ghost reappears and throws them both across the room. Shank finally sees the ghost and realizes Marnie wasn't lying. But the ghost isn't done. He sets the whole house on fire, locks Marnie and Shank in the basement, and throws them around like bowling pins. Shank gets knocked out, leaving Marnie to figure out an escape. She finds the key in Shank's pocket, frees herself, and unlocks the basement door. She climbs out to the ventilation system, but then returns to save Shank. Yep, Marnie, the guy who arrested you 5 minutes ago. Real hero move. Or maybe she's just bad at holding grudges. As they try to escape, the ghost grabs Marnie again. This time, she fights back. She takes off her wedding ring and shoves it into the ghost's face. Take your ring back, Jeff. And while you're at it, take a chill pill. The ghost disappears forever. Turns out, the ring was the last connection binding him to this world. With the ghost gone, Marnie and Shank escape as the house burns to the ground. Shank, knowing the whole truth, tells Marnie to run and promises to handle everything. Marnie agrees. She leaves the city, adopts a new name, and starts over. The next day, the newspapers report that Marnie died in a house fire. Well played, Marnie. She ghosted her ghost and the police. Now free from her haunted past, she begins a new life. And that's how this wild, ghostly saga comes to an end. Lesson learned. If your house is haunted by your angry ex, just burn it down sooner. Saves everyone a lot of trouble.
In the house all alone, scared out of her mind, chills in her bones. She calls up Joy to come hang the night, but little did he know he'd face a ghost fight. Joy rolls up thinking he's the man, like I'ma cheer you up, I got a solid plan. But hubby's ghost said, nah, not today. Mess with my wife, I'll make you pay. In the haunted house, yeah, the vibe was insane. Ghost throwing punches, bringing the pain. Marnie's stuck, she don't know what to do. When the ghost gets mad, boy, he'll come for you. Joy caught a slam, hit the wall like bam. Hands broke, legs broke, ghost said, scram. Blood on the floor, Marty's crying out, but every time she moves, ghost tosses her out. Yo, ghosty hubby, chill out, man. You're out here wildin' with your deathly hands, but he ain't hear it, rage on blast. Joy's in the tiles, buried real fast. Knock, knock, it's Shank at the door. Nosy neighbor vibes, what's this gore? Marnie's panicked, playing it cool, but the body falls down, gravity's cruel. Shank's like, girl, you a killer for sure. Marnie's like, nah, it's the ghost at the core. But he cuffs her up, trying to take her away, till hubby's ghost says, Shank, you gon' pay. In the haunted house, yeah, the vibe was insane. Ghost throwing punches, bringing the pain. Marnie's stuck, she don't know what to do. When the ghost gets mad, boy, he'll come for you. House on fire, flames going wild. Basement locked up, no escape for a while. Marnie's got moves, grabs Shank's key, crawls through the vents like she's in mission 3. But the ghost comes back, grabbing her tight. Marnie's like, nah, we're ending this fight. She pulls off the ring, shoves it in his face. Take your toxic love, I need my space. Ghost disappears, house burns to the ground. Marnie and Shawshank, new life inbound. She changes her name, says goodbye to the pain, while the ghosty ex stays down in the flames. In the haunted house, yeah, the vibe was insane. Ghosts throwing punches, bringing the pain. But Marnie's free now, living her best. She ghosted the